So hi, everybody. Welcome to our first Career Connection webinar for the season. We had a really wonderful run of alumni conversations last year, and we're continuing that this year with some of our younger alums, kicking it off with Kaela Griswold from class of 2015. Just to remind you that these career connections are brought to you by GA's Cooperative Learning Program, which is an externship and experiential learning program that partners kids with interests in certain sort of careers with alums and parents of alums who sort of do short-term mentorship with students. But COVID, like Kaela will explain to you in just a few minutes, has encouraged some rapid innovation. And as we can't place students right now, we are bringing alums to the students by way of these conversations. So the format's pretty simple. We'll be on for about a half an hour, and then there'll be about 15 minutes with questions at the end. So we're going to ask that you drop all of your questions in the chat, and then Ms. Durkin and I will ping pong back and forth and get all of those questions in order. We'll also be sending a video of this conversation around to all of the students in the middle and the upper school in case they want to listen to this again or reach out to Kaela with some additional questions. She'll have contact information at the end of her conversation with Heather and I. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Heather Durkin, who's Director of Alumni Relations, and she will officially introduce Kaela Griswold, class of 2015. Heather?
Thank you. I'm very excited to introduce Kaela because she's our first guest alumna of the 2022 Career Connection series. So welcome, Kaela. She joins us to share her insights about her education and career path thus far, beginning with her time here at GA. Kaela was a lifer at GA starting in pre-K in 2001. I should have gotten a picture to show. While a GA patriot in the upper school, Kaela was a writing center advisor, a student leader for CSO, and a prefect for Truesdale House. She was also selected by her classmates for the Academy Club, a role that she continues to serve in as an alumnus. After GA, Kaela attended Wake Forest University in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, where she earned her Bachelor of Arts in Psychology, Health and Human Services, and also had a concentration in entrepreneurship and social enterprise. While at Wake Forest, she was very active with Wake and Shake, a fundraiser and 12-hour dance marathon event that included, when I say very involved, that included her being the event's overall co-chair her senior year. She was also involved with Social Impact 360 as a lead peer mentor to 15 freshman students. During the summer after her sophomore year, she interned for the Make-A-Wish Foundation in New York City. Currently, Kaela is a senior director of partnerships at Snappy Screen, a New York-based skincare company committed to combating skin cancer. And that's the company that she started with in 2018, just as they were starting up. Last year was a big year for the company as they shifted their focus to include no-touch skin sanitizing products, and that was included on the list of Oprah's favorite things, a list that is published towards the end of each year and drives a large customer response. So with that, please join me in welcoming Kaela Griswold.
Thank you. That was so lovely. So I'm Kaela, and I'm so excited. Thank you guys for having me here. They asked me just to give a little background. So as Heather and Gabby said, I was a lifer at GA and graduated in 2015. You can see Gabby here in this right photo. This page I wanted to include because I can't really give background on myself without pointing out some mentors that pointed me in specific directions on where I am now. So at GA, I was very involved with community service, If it wasn't for Gabby, I wouldn't have spent a semester abroad in Florence doing specifically a photography program as well as a jewelry making program. And all of those things along the way also just led me to Wake Forest itself. So I met here in this photo in the bottom middle. That's one of my advisors, Dan Cohen. One of my minors was entrepreneurship, and he was my advisor that as I was looking for an internship before my junior summer, so the summer after my junior year, he used to teach at Cornell, and he had mentored who are now my bosses. And he was like, I think you're really going to like these women. They're, you know, real true entrepreneurs, go-getters. And so I ended up interning for Snappy Screen right before my senior year. But it's very interesting. Everyone always asks me what I studied in school and how I apply it now. And, you know, I think everyone always does something a little different than what they studied at school, but I definitely went more of the entrepreneurship track. So more so gauged towards my minor. But I was a psychology major and health and human service minor, which is really counseling. And I do use a lot of those skills and techniques every day, whether it's sales and just working with people on a day-to-day basis. But yeah, mentorship is without a doubt the reason I am where I am today. So thanks to all these people on this page and so many others. So a little bit about Snappy Screen. So when I first interned for them, it was the summer of 2018, and we were a team of 5 interns. The photo on the left here is myself with my 2 bosses. So this is Kristen and Caitlin McClellan. They're sisters. And Kristen on the right is who invented Snappy Screen when she was back in college at Cornell. And for some perspective, she's 31 now, and her sister Caitlin to the left is 35. So they have really grown this business from the ground up, the 2 of them, and they launched the first machine in 2016. So what this is it's the world's first touchless sunscreen application system. So you would stand in the middle of this booth, and the booth actually rotates you 1 rotation for 10 seconds, and it's a smart machine. So you can select your SPF, you select your height, and then in 10 seconds, you're completely and evenly covered with sunscreen. So some things that really drew me to the company at first was the innovation. I had never seen anything like this. And also their mission was really to combat the skin cancer epidemic, which is the fastest growing cancer in the world, but it's also the most preventable. So really it's all about prevention when it comes to skin cancer. And the device, currently we work with only 4- and 5-star hotels. So Four Seasons, Ritz-Carltons, Rosewoods, Hyatts, Marriotts, Fairmonts in the US, in Mexico, Caribbean, and Europe. We actually had our first machine go out to the Four Seasons in Athens, Greece, which was really exciting. So that's a little bit about the machine itself. And pre-pandemic, so before March of 2020, my role with the company, I started as an associate director of partnerships. And what that meant was we worked with a lot of hotels. So on a day-to-day, I would be taking calls with general managers of a hotel or a food and beverage director of a hotel, and pitching them the idea of Snappy Screen and why it would benefit them. And something that the sisters, Kristen and Caitlin, realized in one of their first ever machines at the Four Seasons Dallas is that it actually increases food and beverage revenue on the pool deck. So it's actually beneficial for a hotel to have a machine out there because it keeps people outside, keeps people drinking expensive drinks like alcoholic beverages, because when you're sunburned, the first thing that you're going to do is sit inside your hotel room drinking water. You're not going to go get that massage. So they actually proved that it increased that revenue on the pool deck. So up until March, Kristen and I would travel together to different hotels that we would install the machine. So Kristen would do all of the physical labor of installing the machine, and I would handle the people-facing training. So we would train the front desk staff, the pool staff, spa staff, marketing staff, sales, just all about the machine so that everyone knew what it was on property. It encouraged people to use it on property, and then everyone kind of knew what was going on. And so I absolutely loved it because it was really fun to tell people about this new exciting amenity that was coming to property and how they could use it for benefiting the hotel itself. And so that's a little bit about kind of where we started out. Kristen and I traveled to Mexico together, St. Lucia, Puerto Rico, Austin, Texas. We were all over the place. And then of course, March came, so coronavirus hit, and we were lucky because the sunscreen in the machine is actually our own formula. So we call it Sunstyle Sunscreen. And this is the sunscreen that is the same formula in our bottles. We had actually started selling the sunscreen specifically to our properties that also had a machine. We had a lot of guests asking, this feels different, like I love it, can I buy it somewhere? So we did start retailing the product at our hotels, and we were lucky that come March, we had something to release to consumers. So we ended up launching Sunstyle Sunscreen on our website. It was a very rough Wix website that has transformed since then, but it was slow to start for sure. We didn't know what we were doing. Retail and wholesale and that whole world was completely new to all three of us, but we did everything that we could possibly do in that time period. So in that summer, we had 3 interns, all from Wake Forest, and that was my first experience in managing as well. And so they helped us create an ambassador program where we had other students out there promoting our products and driving sales, and that was really, really successful. But I think it's also important to share too kind of the background and the inside story to growth and development. All of these photos have been used for marketing, and each of them has a backstory. So the woman in the middle, that's one of my friends from college, Brandy, who was willing to do some modeling for us. And the image on the right there with the mother spraying her daughter, that's one of our investors' friends in Dallas. And so there's always kind of a backstory of, growth, and we're a really small female-founded company. And so I kind of always like showing the little pieces that make it an entire business, because it really does take a village, which I'll get to that in a little bit. So the sunscreen took off, and we then kept on being told, you guys got to do sanitizer. All of our hotels would say, all right, ladies, you do spray technology really well. You do clean formulas really well. Can you do a hand sanitizer? And so we kept seeing everyone, all skincare brands, just slapping their label on a plastic bottle. And it would have been a really easy short-term solution, but it's just not what we were about. And so we took a lot of time developing Snap Clean Hands, which you see in front of yourself. I have a little one here to show you. So this product was our first hand sanitizer product. It snaps closed like a lipstick tube, so it doesn't spill in your purse or pocket. And it's also refillable. So it's a cartridge system, more sustainable than your one-time throwaway plastic use. So once you have your applicator, you can continue to buy refills. And we have 4 different fragrances. So we had a lot of fun in product development with this, but it took months and months. So we actually didn't launch Sanitizer until, gosh, I think it was December of 2020. So compared to others, we were late to the game, but it completely benefited us in the long run that we did spend so much time on design and formulation, packaging, because it definitely went a long way here. So you can see our 4 original fragrances here. Our signature scent, the pink one is our Rooftop Garden Champagne, the green is our Day at the Spa, and the blue is our Escape to the Sea. So all of our fragrance names are an experience, and our motto of Snappy Screen is experience more. So with the sunscreen, as well as the hand sanitizer, we want our products to allow you to experience more out of life. So whether that means you're staying outside longer in the sun, or staying sanitized and safe, no matter what, experience more is our tagline. So everything that connects to the company, the names of fragrances, whatever it might be, is all connected back to experience. And here we started working with influencers too, and that we kind of started integrating different things within marketing that we never experienced before, just working B2B with other hotels and businesses. So it was a really exciting step for us to kind of see what we could do on a consumer level. So then Ellen happened, and this was so exciting. So what had happened was Ellen has a subscription box program called the Be Kind box. And the woman that runs that at Ellen's offices, she actually had used a Snappy Screen machine and loved the formula and wanted to use our sunscreen in the subscription box. So we were lucky enough to be included in this Ellen's Summer Be Kind box. They included one of our sunscreens as well as one of our Snap applicators. So we were really lucky. We were the only company in there that had all of our products in there. And so the only thing is that they required 35,000 units of every single product. So remind you, we're a team of 4. So the way that we made this happen was the mother of the founder, her name is Betty. She used to be the volunteer coordinator at a Ronald McDonald House in Long Island, New York. And you can get a little glimpse of all the people that love Betty in this bottom left photo. When the pandemic hit, they all weren't able to volunteer anymore. So we had many volunteers, incredible people, men and women, who were looking to help the McClellan family however they could to get through Ellen and realize their dream of, having their products on Ellen. And so we had, probably 20, 25 people, 30 people at one point or another, all different ages, helping us assembly line pack all of the units for Ellen's Be Kind box. And my parents came, my boyfriend came for a weekend. It was like a true family endeavor. And I am kind of corny, but I thought it would be fun for us to have an Ellen cutout. So I ordered one for the warehouse, and everyone took photos with the Ellen cutout. It was so fun. And these are my parents on the right here when they came down to help us pack for a weekend. But this was really like the first huge step in our success throughout the pandemic. So we were really grateful to Ellen and her team, and it went over beautifully. So from there, then we kind of got into the world of wholesale, and we had no idea what we were getting into here. But there are different sales rep companies all around the world that will go on the road, sell your products, and then there's trade shows every so often throughout the year where they will have buyers come and look at all of their vendors' products and buy for the year. So we were first introduced to Appelman Shoppin, which is a luxury gifting sales rep company. I became very close with one of the managers there. Her name is Diana. And so we kept in touch throughout the pandemic, and she put her faith in us. And even though at that point we just had sunscreen and I kept promising her that we were going to have sanitizer products, she agreed to bring us on. And so we had our first show with them in Atlanta. And from there, we ended up beginning to work with Ivy Stone too, which was another sales rep group. And these companies, basically what happens is there's sales reps who, for example, Snappy Screen is one of their lines. They'll walk into a store and show all their different lines they're carrying, sell the products, and then of course the shows like their Super Bowl. So what you're looking at here in this image on the right is actually the Dallas World Market Center. So I was there just a couple weeks ago for a trade show, and I did not know these buildings existed. So it almost looks like a massive mall, and every floor is a different theme. So one floor is furniture, one floor is gifting, one floor is kitchen items. And so it is an insanely big building where buyers from all over the world come. And so we basically started working with Atlanta and Dallas and Vegas and all of their trade shows. And this really was a huge game changer for us. So fast forward to today, we have 40 sales reps that I'm now managing with our wholesale partnerships. And they have created over 1,000 retail partners for us. So you might see some of our products depending on where you live, but we're repped now in the Southeast, in the South Texas, Oklahoma area, and as well as the West. So this was really exciting. And on the left here, that image is a snapshot of one of our booths in Atlanta. So you can see our sunscreen there and the little snap applicators to the left, but the product that you probably don't recognize yet is our touchless mister. So this we actually brought into one of our trade shows as a way for people to experience our sanitizer formula without having to touch the little snap applicators. So we were trying to find a touchless way for them to really smell it and know how good it smells and how good it feels. So this is where that came in. We brought 4 to the first show to show all 4 different formulas. And then we started having people asking if we were selling these. And so it quickly became, halfway through the show, we said, we'll make it happen. Let's do it. We started selling the touchless misters with our same formula inside, and it absolutely took off. So the way these work is it's USB operated, and all you do is put your hand above like that. So it's motion activated, touchless way to get your hand sanitizer. And this is what we were lucky enough to have be Oprah's favorite product this year for 25th anniversary of her favorite things list. So, you know, a theme to our company is kind of listening to customers and hearing what they want and really going for it. And we have a lot of faith in our customers, and they definitely delivered on this touchless mister. So we were really excited about that. So here you can see this was Oprah's official announcement. So she said it herself. She said, this new little wonder makes hand sanitizer hands-free. And we were just so excited. So from this, we were then featured prior to that on Good Morning America. We were featured on The View. And then the Oprah announcement happened in the beginning of November. So it all happened very quickly in the fall of 2021. And we were really excited about all this press that was happening. There was a ton of work on the back end for every single show that we did. Good Morning America, The View, we did a flash sale for those. So what that means is there's about 24 hours where we sell as much as we possibly can on these websites. It's like Deals and Steals, if you've ever heard of that. And we sold out both times. So we had our trusty crew of volunteers helping us pack an insane amount of hand sanitizer products. But we truly could not have done it without the help of everyone out in Long Island at our warehouse. It just simply would not have gotten done. And so it truly does take a village with this kind of stuff. And this is a little bit more about our packaging. So it's come a long way. We were now able to, have professional photo shoots with our products, whereas before we were setting up white poster board in our warehouse, trying to get good lighting. And, Gabby would probably kill me with the lack of poor, light we were using for our photos. It was terrible. But we were so excited that now we're able to do things like this and really keep improving our website and our customer experience. And so kind of coming from what had just started as, you know, the sunscreen machine, which is still where my passion lies with the product. Now Snappy Screen is a technologically innovative skincare brand that focuses on convenience, quality, and sustainability. We believe that time is of the essence, wellness is key, and taking care of the planet should never be a question. So it's just so exciting for me to kind of walk through all of that. I was thanking Gabby and Heather earlier for just letting me do this, because it gave me the ability to kind of sit down with myself and walk through everything that we've done for the last, 3 years. And I had forgotten half the things that had happened. And so it was really exciting to kind of remind myself of how far we've come to. But it is a lot of work. So I'm not trying to hide that at all. But hopefully that gives everyone a little bit of insight into Snappy Screen and what the past 3 years of my life have looked like.
So Kaela, can I ask you a couple of questions while we're on this slide? Because maybe some of our participants want to take down your contact information.
Please. Yes, please do.
Guys, please feel free to dump any questions in the chat. To hear you tell this story is sort of amazing.
Let me interrupt real quick, Gab.
Yeah.
The questions go in the Q&A, not chat.
Oh, I'm sorry, in the Q&A. Sorry, Heather, thanks. To hear you tell this story, it's like this happened and then this happened and this happened. And you're very good about just saying, well, there's a lot of work on the back end, but can we just drill into that just a little bit more? Because we have students on the line, and I think if they understood a little bit about the different hats that you wore and continue to wear in this process, it might be really great. But also how the work gets organized. So there's a team of 4 of you.
Yeah.
You don't all just get up every day and start doing stuff, right? So can you walk us through just how the workflow happens? I'm curious about things like, did you engage an industrial designer to design these things? You certainly don't have a stock problem, but you have a packaging and shipping problem. So just to pick any one of those, just start there. It'd be really interesting.
Totally. No, absolutely. And I think, the hard part is explaining it all. It has changed so quickly, so often too. I think that's the beauty of entrepreneurship as well, is the reason I love it is that like no day is the same. And I think I've been that way for most of my life, where I like, different challenges and things to arise. And so when I first started out, I was strictly doing sales, marketing, and our day-to-day, all 3 of us were really doing that, the same thing a lot of times. So we were hopping on those calls with general managers. We were really just pushing the product as much as we could. And then as soon as the pandemic hit, we kind of took a step back to realize like what needed to happen in order for us to stay afloat. And since all of our hotels shut down, so there was not a single machine in operation.
Wow.
And so that was a very scary time. I'm very grateful that I still have a job today. And I think that we were lucky that really myself and my 2 bosses were able to stay in communication virtually, because we were all in different places at the time. Caitlin was in San Francisco, Kristen was in New York, and then eventually went out to San Francisco, and I was home in Philly. So it was wild. But when that started happening, they really kind of gave me a lot of responsibility too, of being like, all right, Kaela, like, you're here with us, like, let's figure this out together.
Wow, that's great.
Which is something that, as a young 20-something-year-old, it's exciting, but it's a lot of pressure too, to kind of realize that, you do have a lot of responsibility. But
it's a good responsibility to have. I just want to say also, how rare is it to be your age and have that level of impact in a growing organization, right? Yeah. And I mean, that really is kind of hats off to my bosses too, because this is their baby, and it's something that ignited the pressure a bit more for myself to do a good job, because this has been their life for the last 10 years. And so for them to put that trust in me meant a lot. And that's, I think, kind of what drove me to like keep figuring out ways for us to get going here. So with the sunscreen, when we first launched that to consumers, a lot of that consisted of reaching out to past hotel clients, reaching out to
friends and family simply just to buy the sunscreen. And we were reaching out to people in April. Like, people weren't thinking about sunscreen yet. It wasn't summer season, and we were pretty much doing anything and everything we could, posting on LinkedIn, you know, anything that would keep the sunscreen afloat enough for us to figure out what was next. And so then once we started doing product development with the sanitizer, Kristen, who's the CEO, visionary behind pretty much everything, she has an incredible knack to see something before it's there. And that's something, she has an amazing creative ability to, she's done all of our packaging. She's done a lot of the design work itself of sourcing the different products and pieces and what it's going to look like, and really just like kind of understanding the brand enough. And she's the person to do it. She created it. So she really had that vision to kind of see what was next with the products. Whereas once that was created, then Kate and I would help with a lot of the management of that. So reaching out to suppliers, getting that stock in, keeping track of stock in our warehouse. So I actually ended up, it's funny, we joke, I spent many nights at their house in Long Island because we were spending so much time in the warehouse, and to commute back and forth from the warehouse to the city was just a lot. And so they pretty much took me in for, you know, weeks at a time. When we were doing the Ellen packing, I stayed at their house for 3 weeks. So It's funny, you know, my boyfriend jokes like, that's my first house, our apartment's my second house. And so it's one of those things where, you know, you really do delve in head first, and it's a lot of time spent, you know, together and on something. And I'm grateful that I like my bosses. I think for anyone looking at any job, that's like the most important thing to look at. And I'll stand by that till the day I die. You have to like who you work with, and it changes everything. So I think that is, if there's any piece of advice you take from that, just like who you work with. And also with the different jobs, in terms of once we started working with reps, I am their direct contact. So all 40 of our sales reps that are on the road working for us now, as director of partnerships, they will reach out to me, whether they have a client or a retailer that has a question, problem, whatever it might be, and wants to place an order, or whether they have something that they need. So knowing each of them too has been something that I've loved getting to do, and just kind of building that relationship with them. And it makes that part of my job so much better, is really knowing them. And that's really happened at a lot of the trade shows, because that's where they're going in person, and that's where I'm meeting them in person. So that's been really special to kind of build that connection with them, and have them get so excited about the products too. I feel like that doesn't happen a lot for them. And so that side of things, the people facing side, the relationship building side, I never lost that, even throughout the transition of working with GMs at hotels to now working with, you know, sales reps and their managers. And that's what's kept me going too, I think, is that I'm constantly finding new ways to engage with people, and in ways that is benefiting the business. And it's, you know, allowing us to grow in ways that we need to. And I think, you know, that's where a lot of like my background as well comes in, and what gets me excited, because obviously I know that sunscreen and sanitizer are important. That's not what really gets me up in the morning. It's more so the relationships that I've built over time with my bosses and the people I've worked with. And so, yeah, I could go on with this answer forever.
Right. I have a question, Karen Mason. Actually, I have 3 questions in the Q&A. Karen Mason has one that's related to what you just said, actually.
Yeah.
She wanted to know if you could share how you think your undergraduate degree prepared you for this.
That's a great question. Honestly, I think it focuses a lot on my minor in entrepreneurship, simply just with the skill set that I learned there. Just in terms of, you know, having that go with the flow mentality. That's not me as a person. I'm an extremely structured person. And so Gabby's laughing because she knows. I think learning the ability to to be flexible and adapt is something that you really have to learn firsthand. And that's something that I learned really quickly once I started in this position. But that's also the beauty of it. Like, there would be no growth without that. So I think within my minor of entrepreneurship, that's something that kind of just fell into place because I liked those classes. And also I would encourage students to like listen to their gut too. Like, if they like a class, sitting in a class, they like a professor for a certain reason, there's usually a reason that you're feeling that way. And I think it's important to listen to yourself and trust yourself in that. So I decided to do that minor simply because I really liked all my professors that I had in entrepreneurship, and I really enjoyed studying the art of it. But from a psychology perspective, that I think I use that nearly every day just in life, not just within work, but I think just engaging people in a way where understanding where they're coming from, and also from a counseling perspective. One thing that you guys will appreciate knowing is that for about like 4 months time, I did all of our customer service. So I would answer the phone. I was Danielle. That's who I answer as, and that's my customer service person. And having my background in counseling and psychology, I think actually is what made Danielle, who is me, successful in that role, because people just want to be listened to, and they just want you to know that they're going to take care of you. And so I honestly had a blast doing that, even though it was an insane amount of work. I mean, we would get calls upon calls of people just struggling to use this because there's nothing out there that exists like this. And so to bring something so technologically advanced into a home, like for someone to be using this in their kitchen, it did take a couple of steps of us editing our instructions to make it super clear with like how to use the product. And you know, I have a whole appreciation for products now, because when I open a box and there's a pamphlet of instructions there, we edited that thing probably 50 times. So that kind of like iteration of something so small, like I have such an appreciation for it now. But from like an undergraduate perspective, everything I studied, I think I use a little bit of everything every single day, no matter what. I was never in like a technical field like math or a true science. So I think the art of everything applies daily in what I do.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully that answers it, Karen.
Yeah, that was great. We have 2 other questions. One is actually maybe a quicker question to answer. A student says, my best friend has your products.
No way.
Yeah. And I wondered if the hand sanitizer kills germs.
Yes, that is a great question. It's a question I get all the time. Thank you. And feel free to have your friend reach out. It made my day. So the sanitizer formula, it's 75% alcohol. So you kills 99.99% of germs, but you're not going to get that like tequila smell from our alcohol because we use a higher quality. So it costs us more, but it allows the fragrance of our formula to come through. So we have that 75% alcohol, and then we also packed it with moisturizers. So we have aloe vera, vitamin E, and glycerin, and then of course the fragrance, so that you get some good smell too.
I should just tell everybody I have my own here, and it smells so good that I want to use it as perfume half the time. It's really lovely. Okay, we have one more. We have one more question here. So Sophie Hearn. Hi, Soph.
Hi, Soph.
What would you say are some of the qualities that set you apart during your internship process? It's a great question. And how do you transition from being an intern level to such an integral part of the startup?
It's a really good question. So could have given me a heads up here before this. So I think from an internship perspective, I was working with 4 other students, and they were all from Wake. I think that I was one of the older interns. So I was a junior, and there was 2 other juniors and then 2 sophomores at the time that we were interning. And I think I kind of just immediately felt the room and assumed a bit of a leadership role within the 5 of us. I was definitely the one that was most comfortable talking on the phone when it came to cold calls that we were doing. And for anyone that has ever experienced cold calls or has yet to, it is an amazing learning opportunity. That I think my bosses saw that I was kind of willing to try anything, and, you know, kind of just get down to it and do what needed to get done for that summer. And I think that mentality of just kind of like putting in the hard work, but also being a team player and seeing where the work needed to be done. I think that's not something that intuitively came to me. That came over time of kind of seeing the areas where like I could step in and offer to help here, or there was an idea here that I felt comfortable sharing with my bosses. I think that they valued that. So from an internship perspective, I think I didn't realize how much importance does rest on internships, to be honest. Because if I did not intern for them before my senior year, I would not be where I am right now. And I think I led with my heart on that one because it was an interesting company. It sounded like it would be a really fun summer and somewhere that I could potentially see myself. And I'm so glad that I took that leap of faith doing that. But I do like strongly encourage kids to really think about where they're interning as well, because you never know where it could lead. And to be honest, at the end of my summer interning, I did not necessarily expect to work there after college. At the end of the summer, my one boss, Caitlin, sat me down and said, listen, Kaela, I don't know exactly when we're going to start hiring, but when we do, we would really love for you to be our first hire. And we would love to kind of create this role around you. And
wow.
To hear that they were so open to doing that, just because we all enjoyed working together so much, I think that went a long way for me. And it's something that I haven't forgotten too. So, yeah.
We have just a few more minutes. There's one more question, which is a quick one. And then I thought maybe we could end by you talking a little bit about what you think you might do next.
Sure. Yeah.
So Sam Magliari says, my friend also uses Snappy. Look at you, you're getting big love from our participants here.
Thank you.
This is a question about how you decided, I mean, it's like an industrial design question. How did you decide what the different colors would represent for the hand sanitizer?
So the colors for everything that we do are really related to the fragrance. So for example, Escape to the Sea is kind of that deep blue color. The fragrance itself is like a coconut and sea salt, but the blue is connected to the name of it. So Escape to the Sea invokes, you know, the beach. So every single fragrance we did really is connected to that color. So the black one that Gab has is our signature scent. So that's the only one without a color. And that kind of is its own thing. And then we have our original collection, which was the blue, the green, and the pink. And a little heads up to everyone, we have a new spring summer collection dropping soon. And those colors are amazing. And again, they pertain to the fragrance. So that's a great question though. We actually, my boss, the way that she went about choosing the colors themselves, because everything is a specific Pantone color, she was super inspired by different fashion lines. And so the blue, our Escape to the Sea blue, is actually modeled after a shirt that Harry Styles wore that was an insanely popular color blue. And so she looked at different fashion trends that were happening and brought that into technology, which I found really interesting.
Yeah, very smart.
And it took off with packaging. People absolutely adore the packaging, sometimes even more than the product. I'm like, this is crazy.
Well, the packaging is great because the packaging is great for a lot of reasons. As a designer, I could tell you the hand of it is amazing. The weight of it is amazing. The way it works is amazing. The surface is amazing. Like, this is something you want to just put in your hand and carry around. And you can't say that about a lot of packages. It's yeah, whoever your industrial design team is really good, but I think it's great.
Appreciate it.
Okay, what's next for you, Kaela? Because you're probably just 25. I think you just turned 25 in September, right? So class of 2015, we're almost at 2022. You're coming up, this is your 7th year, I guess, coming out of GA. You've done so much in addition to having a really amazing career at Wake. Now you're in this kind of place where you've learned more than your pay grade probably allows. And so it's probably set you up to do any number of things. So what's next for you?
You know, it's one of those things where it's a great question, and I think about it a lot. Right now, I'm really happy with where I'm at and everything I'm learning. I think I've had really good mentors who've reminded me that as soon as you feel like you're not learning anymore and being challenged, like that's when you gotta go.
Right.
So I'm constantly trying to remind myself of that, which is hard to do in a crazy busy schedule every day. I think we were talking earlier about how easy it is to just kind of like keep the wheels turning and keep going. And it's hard to stop for a second to kind of assess where you are and what you want. But I think it's something that's so important to do. So in terms of what's next, I have absolutely no idea. I think that something I've always dreamt about is at some point starting my own business. I was born into a family of entrepreneurs. So my grandmom started her own business. My dad started his own TV show. It's on Amazon Prime. It's called Wolfpack if you want to check it out. But it's just, my family, I think we all just love kind of thinking of new ideas and different stuff. It's that kind of energy, creative energy. It gets me really excited. And so, yeah, it's something that I think at some point I would really like to do and kind of sit down and figure out what that looks like. But I also really have a passion for working with children. So at some point I might go back to school and get back into more of a therapy setting, potentially within a hospital setting. I don't know. So it's exciting. There's so much.
It is. There's so much to do. Yeah, you're so young. You can have 4, 5, 6 more chapters, 7, 8.
Crazy.
Yeah,
I forgot to say that your class predicted in your yearbook that by 2035 you'd be impacting little lives, I think, or something like that. So if they are predicting your future, I think you should go the direction of helping children.
That could be it. Oh, I forgot about all those. That's awesome. Oh, well, thank you, guys.
Kaela, I just want to get to this last question, and I know we're going to go a minute over, but has there been any days that mistakes were made that affected the company?
Oh, that's a really good question. I'll never forget the first mistake I made. We were doing an implementation in Puerto Rico, and it was just Kristen and myself. And the way the machine works is it's kind of like a printer system. So there's cartridges for sunscreen, similar to how there's cartridges of ink for a printer. That's how actually the business model works with the sunscreen. So the hotel purchases the cartridges. I was putting a cartridge, which is a 2.5 gallon unit of sunscreen, into the machine. And I had not watched properly to make sure I was putting it in correctly. And I sliced through the bag that was holding all of the sunscreen, and the spout was on the bottom, and everything started pouring out, all of the sunscreen. And that thing is not cheap. Like 2.5 gallons worth of sunscreen, it goes a long way. And we had only come there, I think, with, 30 some gallons to set them up. And so to lose a whole carton of one on one of my first implementations, I did not know what to do with myself. And I am someone who I can't stop thinking about it until it gets resolved somehow. And my boss was really kind about it in the moment. Of course, neither of us were happy that it happened. But I ended up basically figuring out a way to pay her back for it, because I didn't want to feel like I indebted the company for it in any way. And so, and at that point I was probably, let me think, 20, how old was I? 22. And this was my first real issue at work. I was like, how do I handle this? And I really just kind of talked out my feelings with my boss. I was like, listen, I feel really guilty. I feel really bad. I want to make it up somehow. It's not like me to just ignore what happened and then keep going with it. And I think just talking about it, she appreciated it. And we were then kind of able to, any future issues that arose, we just talked through them. And I think getting over that first hurdle was painful. I still get a little, anxious just thinking about that moment.
Yeah.
But I think it also kind of those moments define like how you handle things at work, which I didn't realize until, you know, really talking it out now, that like, I'm glad that I didn't just like let it go and hide and like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Because everyone makes mistakes and it's going to happen, especially in a small company where everyone's watching your every move too. And every sales call I did, Kristen and I sat in the same room. So she heard every pitch I did. And if it didn't go well, she heard it. And so I think having some like grace for yourself sometimes helps a little bit. But in terms of like a big mistake for the company that's like changed our trajectory, no. So I'm grateful that that hasn't happened. Let's all knock on some wood right now, but yeah, I'm grateful. We all work super closely anyway, so any big decision that needs to be made, all three of us are usually on top of it. So luckily it gets discussed at least by two people most of the time. So that's definitely the benefit of it. But
Kaela, you have been a delight. It's been so great to hear your story, and also just to see you again. It feels like such a long, long time, and you're every bit the person we thought you'd be when you finally got to adulthood, and you're doing all the really cool things in just that Kaela Griswold signature way that I love.
that's so
People
nice.
are always first. You're always filled with such joy, and you're just tremendous character. And I think it's come across in everything you shared tonight. And I know the people on the call, we're super happy to hear your story. And I know students who are clicking on our links in days to come will also.
Yeah.
So
and if anyone has questions too, just to reiterate, I'm more than happy to hop on the phone with anyone. If you want to shoot me an email, this is my personal email here. So feel free to reach out. But if you have questions about, you know, college, where you want to go, what you want to study, what you want to do after college, I do not have all the answers, but I'm more than happy to talk to you about it, and more than happy to listen. So
that's great.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, Kaela.
Thanks so much.
It's been fabulous.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this. This is such a cool space. Oh, I love it.
You're doing the hard part. Heather and I just send out emails and then get to connect, which is great.
I'm going to go order my Snappy Screen though.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you should order the signature scent. It's amazing. All right, guys. Thank you. Everybody at home on the call, thanks for joining Kaela and Ms. Durkin and I. And you'll get a follow-up email tomorrow. And Kaela, again, thank you so much for everything. It's so good to hear from you.
Thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your night.
We'll see you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.